my father taught me how to be content rather than chase happiness, which is only temporary.
This video is kindly sponsored by Read Mentor School, which are an online independent Muslim school for children aged 6 to 16, where you can get the British National Curriculum full-time education alongside your Islamic values and Islamic studies. Do check them out on readmentorschool.com. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Welcome back to the Dadhood podcast. And today we have one of our returning guests who, mashallah, I think was received quite well on the last episode. So last time, if you remember, Sheikh Ramiz, we done an episode on emotional intelligence, and we were talking about how fathers can, inshallah, mature themselves a bit more, become more self-aware, control their anger. And, we pulled a few clips out from that episode that did do quite well, and a lot of people received that quite well. So, alhamdulillah, you reached out and said, let's do another one. We haven't really planned any particular topic for this one, but you said you were thinking about a few things before we started recording in relation to death and accountability and fatherhood. So let's take it wherever you are, and then we'll roll from there, inshallah.
Yeah, so alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. So, I was saying about thinking about death every day, and I do. I'm not just saying to be potentially humble. I do think about it every day, and most of the day. Like if I'm in a car, and I think it's just overthinking, or it's excess negative thinking, but it's not negative. People think it's negative, but it's not. It's the reality of what's going to happen to you next. So you've got to think about it. It's like if we plan to do a project, we're going to be thinking about that project. We're going to be thinking about making your bed if you think about that project. Or I'm making your bed in the morning, starts the day off. That's why I always get the kids to make their bed before they start the day. But, if I'm in the car, I'm thinking, I could have an accident now. I could die in the car. Or if I go past a lorry, I'm not scared of the lorry. I'm scared of the lorry crushing and I can't get out. I get a claustrophobic. And I can imagine a claustrophobic, and then you've got the time period of 3 or 4 seconds or a minute or 10 minutes, I'm waiting for them to come and take me out. If I'm walking down the road, something can fall on my head. Now that I'm in Cyprus, I'm going hunting, a snake could bite me and I'm miles away from the hospital. Things like this. So everything it's like an appropriacy to the situation. Mm-hmm. So, and I always tell the kids as well, I could die in a minute. We could all die in a second, I said to the kids. I said, Baba, well, it's the truth, bro. That's why I always tell the kids, if I die, I want you guys to keep hold of what I tell you, which is mainly about life skills, and remember that I'm always going to be here. You can go before me. I can go before you. And that's why I teach them life skills and to have appropriate positive escapisms to get on with when they get emotionally disturbed or stressful. So with the boy, I keep telling him, because you keep telling us, I'm going to keep telling you till I'm dead, that you grab a positive escapism. So whenever you get emotionally stressed, you say to the wife or the family or me, or, if you're not married, whatever, I'm going fishing. And he does. He's very, he says, Baba, I want to go fishing. I'm desperate. He's only 8. So that's good. It's a good thing. Teaching hunting, so he can say, I want to go back to something hunting. The same way that the dunya, the kuffar are always, pushing.
Sheikh Ramiz, can you just lift your mic up a bit? We're losing you a little bit.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. So,
yes,
the way that the kuffar are always trying to deviate us from the truth by, Christmas. Not that we practice it, but it's in the air. It's there. Wherever you are, there's going to be lots of distractions around you, like ambient. It may not be within your life, obviously, because you're a Muslim, alhamdulillah. So there's Christmas, and there's birthdays, and there's Easter, and there's birthdays, there's Pancake Day, and there's birthdays, and there's what else there? Valentine's Day, and then Shrove Tuesday, I think, which is Pancake Day. I think. Then you've got all these things. It's the same way that the dunya will always be distracting for you. So you've got to keep thinking and repelling these things away by thinking about death and thinking about, as the Prophet ﷺ said, always think about the destroyer of pleasures. So if you're it happened last week before I came here, I met some brothers, very good friends of mine, and with all due respect to yourself, My brothers came as well. We had a little meeting, a little dinner. I gave a little reminder. And my reminders are always twofold: salah and death. I don't talk about much anything else.
Mm-hmm.
I talk about death and prayers. I don't think about much about all the hadith there, the ayats, whatever it may be. Those two things are all. Whenever someone says to me, Ustad, give us the talk,
Yeah.
in my brain, salah and death. That's it. So we have to keep thinking about death. And we was laughing all the way to my brother who led the salah, saying Allahu Akbar. And my brother was still laughing. I said, listen, just think about your death. He's a killer. When you think about something so-called morbid, as the Western media would have you say, that's a bit morbid. Well, talking about things other than the reality is an unreality. You enjoy yourself. Yes, the Prophet ﷺ said, don't worry about the hereafter or the judgment day. You just carry on planting what you're going to do. So they say, live your life as if you're going to live forever. And how was it again? And as if you're going to die in a minute. I've forgotten the saying now. But it's like, chase the dunya as if you can live forever, but chase the akhirah as if you're going to die now. Sort of thing.
Right.
Yeah, you get the gist anyway.
Yeah.
So the reality is that death. And I always had these thoughts. So I'm in a car. I'm going to get crushed by a lorry. I'm going to have a car accident. And I always say, Allah, don't take me unless you're pleased with me. Don't take me unless I'm ready. In the sense that you're happy with me and I'm going to go Jannah. Whether I'm going to go via the hellfire or not, that's not up to you, Allah. And I had these states. Whoever says Allahumma ajirni min an-nar 3 times, then Allah will save you from the hellfire. Whoever says Allahumma inni as'aluka al-jannah, as'aluka al-jannah al-firdaus, then at 3 times, Allah will give you Jannah, inshallah. It's always we know the hadith, the jihad al-nafs, jihad akbar is a fabricated hadith, mawdu'. However, it has a reality.
Yeah.
Jihad to oneself is always a reality. Even though the hadith is mawdu' or weak or another weak hadith, that's fabricated definitely. But we take the essence of it, that there is a jihad now. So it's not the greatest jihad, but it could be one of the greatest jihads because the way we have to fight ourselves all the time. We're always fighting it. And this is the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. SubhanAllah, you commit a sin and then Allah makes you feel bad. So you get closer to Him. So a sin that gets you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is better than a blessing that takes you away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the saying by Ibn Qayyim al-Jawzi. So that's basically what I do think about a lot. I mean, I'm 57 now, so I'm not saying I'm close to my death and people younger than me are not. I'm just saying that as I get older, what else am I going to think about? I've got to make sure that everything's in place.
Would you say when you were younger, did you also think about those 2 things, salah and death?
No, I mean, I came into Deen 26 years ago, so up to the age of 30, I didn't really think about salah or death. But whenever I banged my head, I always said, Allah, you gave that to me because I've done something wrong, maybe. That's how I grew up. I just grew up believing in Allah, but I didn't pray. The first time I ever prayed was when I was 17. I worked as a security guard, and I made quite a bit of money because I wouldn't pay tax. I was going back to college at the time. So, and I spent 1 month in Turkey, in Istanbul, when I was 17, 18. And my uncle, my dad's first cousin, not my uncle, but he told me, we only prayed Jummah. He only took the Jummah. So we prayed Jummah, and that was it. And when I came back, I forgot everything. I forgot about prayer until I started practicing again. Not that I was practicing then, but it was the first time in my life. But when I was 29, 30. But no, when I say lately, I would say it's becoming a very part of my thought process on a daily basis, exponentially the last maybe 7 years since I got divorced with the children's mother. And I think because of the emotional shock or maybe grief trauma, whatever it may be, I thought about it a lot and I still think about it. It keeps you in check. It may not stop you sinning. It may not stop you sinning because maybe Allah wants you to sin, so keep getting close to Him, making tawbah all the time. Yeah. Because dunya could take you away from the reality of making tawbah, which is a sin if you delay that as well. Alhamdulillah. So and I instilled that into my children. Tawheed, death, and prayer. I mean, it's especially the boy. I teach him a lot because he's going to be the rajul. He's going to be the mard. He's going to be the mard man, and to take control of everything. And my girls as well. I teach them Tawheed. I teach them every
What
day.
what benefit do you think children get from learning about the reality of death so early on in their life?
Okay, as the kids were growing up, I made sure that they only had sweets and crisps and things on a Friday.
Okay.
And their mother was saying, "Yeah, but they're kids." I said, "They're gonna get it elsewhere." But
Sure.
if I
Yeah,
just
of course.
if
Yes,
I just
that's
open
true.
the doors,
That's true.
if I just open the doors, they're
Yeah.
gonna get that a plus on a Friday as well. So it
Yeah.
keeps the balance. Same way with death is they're going to get pulled away from the deen, pulled away from the prayer, pulled away from the reality every day. So if I talk to them about the death every day, it keeps them in check. So when they're going to try and do something wrong, they think about death. The thought process of thinking about Allah or death may not stop them sinning.
Sure.
It doesn't mean that you're, I don't know if it's I don't know. Iman is a very tricky thing. It's a beautiful thing, but it's also a tricky thing as well. I always compare it to rungs of a ladder. That if you're on rung number 3, Iman goes down. If you stay there, then you're going to fall to 1. It's best to always try to jump to number 5 and number 10, exponentially growing, because it's going to drop. So you'd rather drop to a higher point rather than drop to a lower point, because you're already at a lower point. So you try and get to a higher point. So by reminding the kids about death and everybody else about death, it keeps you in check. I mean, I don't talk about football. I don't even allow brothers to talk about second wives in front of me, because it's just what we say, tharthara, and it's just
Yes.
you're not gonna do it.
Yeah.
You just get a buzz out of it, and I haven't got time for a buzz.
Yeah.
So I like to just reality of life, basically. It doesn't mean that I'm morbid, I don't have a laugh. I go fishing, I go camping, I go we go hunting. I like to go for walks with the kids, so they spend more time outside the house than they do inside the house.
Yeah.
On their electronic devices, and we go for have a banana cake. I live in East London, so not far from us, about 5-10 minute drive. You've got Wanstead Park, and there's a lakes there where you can fish or sit by the pond, but by the lakes. There's a little cafe there where they do like banana cake, tea, coffee, cakes, things like that, sandwiches, whatever. So they're outdoorish people. My kids, they do like to, they do. My boy was here in the summer with me. I brought my dad, and my dad's not disabled, he's a dialysis patient.
Yeah.
He can just about walk because he's got a muscle problem since birth.
Yeah. May Allah cure him.
Okay, we can't say it's incurable, because Allah can cure, but it's an incurable one. It's very, very rare. Very, very rare. Basically, he's got if he squeezes your hand too quickly, he'll turn to stone. He get muscle tone. It's what you call myotonic congenita. He gets toned very, very quickly.
Right.
And turn to rock, as if he's just trained for 3 hours straight. 1 second. No, he's not broken.
So Ramiz, if you just pull your phone back a little bit, just to give us a bit of distance.
See my beautiful face here. Is that
story? That's okay, no problem. So I remember last time you spoke about taking care of your father in his old age, and something that keeps coming to your mind is death and things like this. So a lot of us, we have this reality surrounds us, especially as Muslims, that we want to make sure that we take care of our parents when they're older, when they're closer to death, and we want to make sure that they die in a state that they're pleased with us, and we want to make sure that our children also understand this reality as well.
Yes.
So I
Absolutely.
think there's this kind of you could say a push within the Muslim community to always be aware, essentially at many different stages, of what could happen in the afterlife, when death could come, because it's you're looking at your parents and they're close to death, so you're thinking about it. You're looking at your children, you're thinking, how do I make sure that you're going to be prepared for it? You're looking at yourself, you're thinking, when am I going to go? And you're thinking also, okay, if my parents go, my children get older, they're going to take care of me as well. So there's this kind of reality of thinking about the afterlife, thinking of death. But then also you kind of have to also get along with your life at the moment. You have to also achieve things. You have to get things done. And you said, for example, something you enjoy doing is hunting, teaching your children about the outdoors and things like this. So I guess the question is, how do you then balance that? You know, you're there taking you said your 8-year-old son is there with you and you're taking him to do some hunting. They've also got your father there who you're trying to help when it comes to his needs and his care. And you're in the middle there trying to do one thing, which is give your son some fun time and being present with him. On the other hand, you're taking care of somebody who's close to death. So it's quite an image there, you can say, of being right in the middle and trying to balance between making the most of the life that you have whilst also thinking about what is going to happen to me in the next life. And how would you say you've kind of gone about balancing those two sides of things?
I think because life is very fast and there's so much to do, you just try. You're not thinking about it 24/7, obviously, but every time you got headspace and head time and mind time, you think about it.
Mm.
You know, I make sure that my kids, and alhamdulillah, they're all good kids. So I always say they're my kids, obviously, but I mean they are good kids. They I don't know if I mentioned it before, but obviously my father, he makes wudu, and I get my kids to dry my father's feet and put the socks on. And then they never say, oh, for why me, Baba? And I don't see a funny face on their face when I ask them. They just go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
I make sure that's part of life, to look after your elders. Like today, I opened the door and my boy came in. I said, where are you going? Hold the door for your uncle and my mum. I said, you always hold the doors for older people, I said to them, and for people who can't open the door for themselves. These little things, so they know. I mean, it's part of the cult of. I think it's part of the culture as well. I think it's just Turkish culture and Asian culture, and I think Islamic culture is embedded in us. So we know these kind of things. They're always there. So it's, what you're asking, in essence, is probably how do you balance everything out, And I do reflect on myself sometimes. Am I being too pushy on the kids? Do I tell them too much? But no, I don't. Honestly, I don't. If I had kids 20 years ago, mind you, my oldest is 16 now, so maybe earlier than that, I was a totally different person. I was more, I wouldn't use the word extreme, but a little bit harsh, I suppose, because of my fears.
Strict.
Only because of my fears. And we all get that sometimes, But now I tell them, listen, you're to your grave. You don't belong to me. I'm taking care of you for a time being. I was going to ask you how I took care of you. So give me a good review. I always ask him, am I a good dad? I said, yeah, Baba. I said, don't just say, he goes, no, Baba, you're there for us. You got to show us love, you show us care. And I do have these talks with them. I tell them that 90% of the time I give you love and care, 99% of the time love and care and nurturing. That 1%, they know I can flip any second. Don't cross the boundary. I don't hit them. I've never hit them. I think I said before on the podcast, I've only smacked their bums 3 times in 8 years, as they grew up to 8 years. Since they're 8 and they're 16 and 14 now, I haven't really touched them. I threatened them. And the only time that I really get annoyed is when I call them, I have to call them again and call them again. And I say, you've got no shame. What, Baba? I said, whatever you're doing is not as important as your father's and mother's voice. That's it. If I call you, you drop everything and come. The least you should be doing is, Baba, I heard you. Just give me 5 minutes and I'll be down in a minute.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah.
But if you ignore me, I'm going to take it personally. And why shouldn't I? I mean, how dare you? So, yeah, I mean, keep the balances. Whenever I'm driving in the car with them, I talk to them about, look how Allah created the sunset and the sunrise and everything. And Allah is one. He has no partners, no auntie, no mother, no father, no cousins, He's one. He's not Allah-s or Allah's. There's not many. There's not male or female. Although he calls himself he as a majestic he or a majestic plurality as we, So it's these little intricate bits. And also now they're getting older, I try and teach them al-wala wal-bara, loving and hating for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is really missing in the ummah now. When I came into Deen in the 90s, 96, al-wala wal-bara, associating yourself for the sake of Allah, dissociating yourself for the sake of Allah, was a big thing. Now it's not. If I talked about that now, people think, even the Muslims will think I'm extreme or crazy.
Yeah.
So I teach my kids these kind of basic tawheed and, Allah is one. You know, do we believe in Jesus? Yes, we do. Do we believe in second coming? He's coming. The Prophet ﷺ is not coming, although he's alive in his grave. But
Yeah.
Prophet Isa, he's coming. We're waiting for him, just like the Christians. The only difference is the Christians believe. I don't give them too much like level 20 Islam and bombard them, because and I can see that the kids these days, they want to play.
Yeah.
You know, but now the girls are getting 16 and 14. I give them a lot of responsibility.
Yes.
You know, and I keep on it. I don't forget what I tell the kids.
I think sometimes we underestimate the ability that children have, and the ability to comprehend things. You know, I find that sometimes my son will pick up things so quickly, my daughter will pick up things so quickly,
believe me.
and you realize that, you know, why do we set these limits on them, that we think a 5-year-old should only do this, and a 8-year-old should only do this, and a 10-year-old should only be at this stage, and you know, but then when we look into the past, we find that there were scholars by the age of 13. There were people who were leading armies by the age of 16. There were, you know, even if okay, let's not look in the past, because people say, look, that's because they had a particular context and we're in a different context. Fine, let's look contemporary. Let's just look across the globe. If we look at some of the Muslim countries, and somewhere where there's a little bit more hardship than there is in the West,
Yeah,
you find
they
that
grow
the
up very, very
children
quickly. Yeah,
grow up very quickly, very mature, you know, and they handle things just like an adult would.
absolutely.
And you know, of course, we can you know, kind of caveat that and say, you know, they've been put into a difficult situation and they're growing up too fast for their own good, maybe, and there's going to be disadvantages to that. Yes, we can do, but we also have to see that maybe here in the Western countries, we're too far into the other side, where there's too many comforts, that children are growing at a very, very
This is
slow
exactly what I
pace.
was saying.
You
Yeah,
know?
you're right. The word is the word. The word is comfort. It's not just children; it's us
Mm.
as well. We can be
Yeah.
very comfortable because, you know, Allah, and that's another thing that I think about. Is Allah pleased with us? Is He? Because the Prophet ﷺ said that if Allah loves you, He will give you tests.
Yes.
And I'm thinking, well, I don't want to say what test do I have. But I can say that in a comparative way, to compare about the children of Gaza and the people of Gaza and Syria and, you know, Sudan and Congo. We forget about these places. You know, it's happening
100%.
everywhere. And because it's in the limelight now. Right now, it's Gaza. You know, but yeah. So you're right. It's not about standardization. They can only take this much. It's about let them absorb it and reflect on it and think about it. And we'll talk about it again tomorrow. You know, and so I know, Baba. I said, don't ever say I know. Don't ever say I know. You know, when someone's trying to give you a hadith, trying to teach you something, even if you know the answer, be humble and say, yes, I want to hear it. But because your mind is working so fast, it's like you want to finish your exam to go and play. You want to finish your dinner to go and play. You want to go and finish your salah quickly and go and play or work or whatever you can pay the bills. It affects us in according to our age and level of iman.
Yeah.
You know, so they need to hear it every day. I don't bombard them every day. It's like, you know, the way my dawah is. If I'm walking down a marketplace, say, or anywhere, and so oh my God, I'd say, do you believe in God? They'll say no. Why'd you mention him so much? Don't you reflect on that? No, I don't. Then that's my dawah. That's how I start it off. You know, I like to catch people out on a good, positive way, rather than just, you got to believe in Allah. You got to believe in the one. The earth, we're all gonna die. The end is nigh. The end is nigh, as they say. Yeah, but yeah, alhamdulillah.
You know, on the topic of and on Gaza, you know, I was thinking this morning, subhanAllah, when we woke up for Fajr, it was pouring outside here in London, and
Okay.
and you know, I was just waiting for my wife to make her wudu and whatnot, and I was just thinking about, subhanAllah, right now the house is warm, the doors are shut, the windows are double glazed. You know, my children have
You
their
want for nothing.
blankets.
You want for nothing.
They have their mattress, they have their sleeping suits on, you know,
SubhanAllah.
all this kind of stuff. We got running water, hot water, cold water, whatever we want. And outside is you know, the streets are practically flooding with how much it's raining. But we're okay, we're calm, we're chilling. We woke up so nicely just to pray Fajr. It's so easy for us. And you think about what's happening in Gaza, and it's totally different. You know, children. They're not even waking up with nothing. They're going to sleep with nothing in the first place. They're going to sleep without blankets. They're going to sleep without
But
sleeping
do
suits.
you know, sort of,
Sleep
do you know
without heat.
something? But they don't really care.
Yeah.
They to them now, their life is, I want to die now. They don't care about themselves. That's the more thing about their family. They're so used to the bombardment. They're so used to it that they're in a better place than we are. It's a, they're a test for us. I know they've been tested. We say tested, but Allah's going to take martyrs somehow. He's going to take death, servants back to him somehow. You hear what you meet. He gives life and takes death, takes life. So I'm not saying forget about it. Of course not. But it's amazing how we make a comparison to what we've got and what they've got, and they're not really complaining.
Yeah.
You've got modern day Sahabia, mothers who are saying, my son's died on Shaheed. They feel proud.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah. Take my other son.
Yeah.
And fathers
This is
granddads.
what I was gonna mention
Brother
is
Khalid,
that,
for example.
For us, that level of comfort is, if that's taken away from our children, that they're in a roof in a house and the rain is not hitting them, if just that one blessing of having that roof was taken away, we'd feel like our children have lost everything. We'd feel like we as fathers are not providing for our children at all, and we've totally kind of done them wrong. And
Yeah, it's the
but when we look,
standardization of us, isn't it?
yeah, but when we look at the parents in Gaza, look how proud they are of the fact that their children are going through such tests. But me as a father, I couldn't. If my children didn't have some sort of warm clothing, I'd feel like I'm
Yeah,
doing something wrong
yeah.
to them. But
And
those fathers are like, I'm so glad that my children are going through these tests, because that shows me that Allah is looking after them. It's a
yeah, I
completely
mean,
different mindset. One father on this side of the world,
absolutely,
another father on the other side of the world.
absolutely. I mean, I grew up born in 60s, grew up 70s, 80s, and 90s, I would say, 70s, 80s. And, we never had no central heat and double glazing for like 20 years. We just had 2 paraffin heaters for the whole, the cafe we had, my dad had, and the 3 floors that we lived on as well, or lived in, I would say. Just 2 paraffin heaters. We had no double glazing when it snowed. Oh, my God. But, my mum made sure that we went through hardship.
Hmm.
At 8 years old, I'm washing, drying, folding clothes, buttering bread, peeling potatoes, washing windows, hoovering, polishing. My mum was called the pledge lady. There's a spray called pledge. She used pledge everywhere in the wood. So, I grew up with a good work ethic and understanding about life. So I make sure now that I don't put my kids in difficulty that they can't handle. Like I make sure that in the wintertime, they go out there and pick up leaves in the wet grass, and it's cold. There may not be a hardship, but it's something that they will. Life isn't always about just sitting at home having warmth. Get out there. We live in East London. There's a Plashet Park, and I remember going to. It was very dark, dismal sky. We knew it was going to rain, and I made sure that when we get to the park, we would get soaked before we come home.
Right.
Things like this, or going camping when it's muddy and all that, so they get dirty, etc. Even though I've got OCD, they haven't yet, I suppose. So with me, but when I'm camping, I don't care. I like to get muddy and cold and all that, and it's cozy, just everything's nice and cozy. Get them knowing, seeing the other things of life, coming out of the concrete jungle.
Mm-hmm.
They would go fishing. Like I say, we've been camping together as well, you and I. With taking the kids and making sure they go hiking. And what difficulty can they do? Clean your clothes, clean your room, use the washing machine. Make sure you're washing up. You go and cook some food. Make your bed. Hoover. Cut the grass. Or that's not difficulty. That's something they have to do.
Yeah, subhanallah.
So what difficulty is it? And this is why I think it's important to take our kids into poorer countries. So they can see people, actually kids on the street, they've got no shoes on, but they're happier than you are.
It's so true. It reminds me of this hadith. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that,
So,
paraphrasing it, that to soften your heart, one of the things you can do is to touch the head of an orphan and feed
orphan,
them.
yeah, yeah,
And the fact that he mentioned to touch the head, it wasn't, one of the sheikhs, he spoke about. He said it's not enough to soften your heart, to just press the donate button on the website. That's not going to soften your heart. The fact that the Prophet ﷺ said, the physical act of being there with the child, with the poor person, with the orphan, touching them and being close to them, in proximity to them, that is what is going to actually soften your heart. And
yeah.
so,
Because you're touching that feeling's not going to go away. You
yeah.
may think about the kids now, and every time you think about the kid, you're going to feel his head on on
Mm,
your hand.
exactly. So there is that aspect of physically being in the places of hardship and the places of difficulty that actually
Mm.
have this ongoing benefit that you just can't get from being in comforts, being online, or anything like that. So I think it's very important what you're saying in terms of uh, taking children into places of hardship, giving them a little bit of test, a little bit of difficulty, being exposed to those kind of things. And I feel like for us as parents, we need to make sure we do that as well, because sometimes we get caught up in the comforts of life. Sometimes we get caught up thinking, how can I make the life of my children more comfortable? Because, for example, as fathers, obviously, one of our main jobs is to provide for the family. But sometimes that
Mm.
provision, we get so distracted, and we feel like that provision, it needs to be at some sort of extreme extent, that the life of this world becomes the best life ever for our children, right?
Yeah,
We
me
begin to
personally, I'm
think
not like
that
that
we
at all,
have to
bro.
provide everything for them, and
Yeah,
and that's the purpose of our provision. But when we look at what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us about provision, anytime he's talked about rizq and provision, it's always been attached to the hereafter. It's never, the provision has never solely been in Quran and Sunnah to be attached
exactly.
to this life or specifically for this life.
Yeah,
So for our
yeah, yeah.
children, it's going to be the same thing. The things we have to provide for our children is
Yeah.
supposed to be something that actually benefits the next life. So maybe through this
Yeah.
life, obviously, you give them food. That's in order to give them the fuel to live and worship Allah. You give them the clothes on their back so that they can worship Allah. It's not just to give them all of the luxuries of this world for the sake of the luxuries of this world. And that's sometimes
Absolutely.
parents sometimes forget that, and sometimes we need to put ourselves in that level of hardship. That's why I look at the parents in Gaza and I get inspired from them. It changes my perspective as a
Yeah.
parent living over here.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not that kind of father. I mean,
Mm,
with all due respect to the fathers, I've never been like that. I've told my kids, I'm not here to give you a house,
mm,
money, or a car. If I've got
mm,
it, bismillah, you're going to have it. But I always says, you hear me saying this in many podcasts. I tell them I'm here to give you life skills, how to deal with the emotions, how to deal with problems, how to find solutions to problems, how to trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how to just don't worry about the future. That belongs to Allah. Think about the future, where you want to be. Start planning it here in the present.
mm.
And don't make the present a regret, as a past regret of tomorrow. Make sure you do something today they don't regret today in the
Yeah.
future. So I'm not here. I know brothers. Sorry. I want to get a house and leave it for my kids. I don't care. I don't care about that, because in my pursuit of doing that, I can forget the real stuff, and that is spending time with them, teaching. I'd rather them be, I won't say poor, but okay, and
Mm.
think that my father was always there. He taught me this, he taught me that.
Yeah.
Than give me everything, and he's never there. And I'm
Mm.
not saying those fathers give their kids everything. I'm never there.
Yeah. Yeah.
You could be there physically, but you're not connected. And I
Yes.
do a lot of, because of the work that I do as well as the hijama clinic. I also do psychotherapy, so I understand the process of fathers who are always worried about, if I want to get a house, to make it easy for them. No, well, why? I don't make it easy for my kids. I'm here to make it. I'm not here to make my kids' life comfortable. My daughter started after 13, the oldest one. She wanted to go to school, so I put her into Azhar Academy in the Islamic school for 2 years.
Yeah.
The first 3 months, she goes, "Oh, well, I don't like it. I'm not comfortable here." So I don't care. I'm not here to make your school life comfortable. You wanted to go to school, you're in there now, and make the best of what you've got. And that's it. You deal with the problems, whatever problems you have at your age, you deal with it. If you want to help with you, I'll help you. But I'm not here to make them. I was telling my brother the other day, you're not going to live on a canal boat. He goes, you're such a gypsy. I said, you've got it there. I am a gypsy. I am. I could live in a motorhome. I could, it doesn't. I don't think about these things. I don't worry about the future. Have I got money? I've got enough. I've got a couple of grand in the bank. I've got a business. Am I hungry? No. Am I naked? No. Have I got a roof over my head? Yes. Well, what more do I want?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to worry. Oh, I ain't got a house in my name. These are the fears that someone else put inside me.
Mm.
They're not my fears. Oh, look at your age. You're 57. You ain't got a house. All right, that's your fear. You're worried that you may not have a house by that age, but you're still a relative of me. I don't care. That's not my reality. My reality is that, if I just live according to my means, what I've got now, I'm all right. I don't care about tomorrow. That belongs to Allah. I don't have to chase my rizq all the time because my rizq is written. You don't have to exert yourself, get anxiety about it. That doesn't belong to me. It belongs to Allah.
Yeah.
Allah, you said your rizq is written for me. Yeah. So, alhamdulillah, Allah, thank you for it. That's it. The rest of the time, worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, do the best you can. That's it. Why worry about it? I know a brother actually, he's very having anxiety about it. Like he's so desperate to get a house to leave for his kid. I said, well, may Allah guide you, help you, man. I'm glad I'm not in that state.
Mm.
That is good. That is a good state to be in.
Because even this, let's take the example of this brother. Even if, for example, he gets the house, it's in his name. He writes a will that when he passes away, it's, put in the children's name and whatnot. And then he passes away. Now his children get access to the house. How is that father going to know that the intention of what he wanted that children to do with that house is going to be fulfilled? You don't know that your children may come as soon as they get the house in their name, they sell it, now they use that money that they get from it for haram. You don't know that. You can't control the factors of what are going to happen after your death. All you can do is leave what you're supposed to leave in this dunya and make sure that you've passed on the right characteristics to your children, not the materialistic things. Yes, okay, give them. Obviously, the Prophet ﷺ also, he mentioned a hadith that it's better for you to keep to leave your family with wealth rather than having them in a position where they're asking for wealth. Yeah, of course. So we're not saying that you don't leave them with nothing. You leave them with what they need, but it doesn't mean you spend your life thinking the priority is how do I give them all of the material wealth after I pass away. Rather, you give them what they need, and what your concern should be is how do I pass them good morals? How do I pass them knowledge? How do I pass them characteristics? Because those are the things that they're going to use to determine how to use the money that you leave them. If you didn't pass them good characteristics and you left them £1,000, then that £1,000 is going to go to waste. If you left them, if you left them with good characteristics, and that same £1,000, that £1,000 is going to be used in a good way, and it's probably going to benefit you, because if you left your children with good manners, good understanding, good adab, they may spend that money for you. They may spend that as sadaqah for you. And if you didn't leave them with anything, how do you know they're going to do anything good with that money? So I always think the more important thing, rather than thinking about how do I leave them with a house, is okay, if I can leave them with a house, khalas, I'll do that. But if I can't, and it's going to take everything out of me to give them a house, then it's better that I leave them with something, and then more importantly, I focus on how much manners and knowledge I leave them, so that they actually, use those things, the material things, in the best way possible.
Absolutely. I mean, the legacy of the legacy of your dunya is to make them happy. But your legacy of the hereafter is to make them content.
MashaAllah.
There's no point in giving them skills to make money when they haven't got the skills to control money.
Yeah, exactly.
I made 10,000. Next day, where is it? Oh, I spent it. Because you haven't learned the skills to deal with it, how to control the money. So I'm going to give them a house. Some parents write the name, give the house to the children whilst they're alive. What happens? They kick you out.
Subhanallah.
No, kick you out, and then what? If they kick you out, it's your fault. You taught them that. You taught them that chase the money, make yourself happy. You didn't teach them to be content, look after your parents, look after your elders, respect your elders, this and that, always be satisfied with a little rather than try and get a lot, Because if you're like that, then your legacy will be dunya. Look, my dad got me a house, got me a car. Are you praying? No. We do it nighttime. I got the nightclubs. Well, that's your legacy. It can still happen. Don't get me wrong. It can still happen. But the idea is to keep pushing the kids to the hereafter. That's the most important thing. This is a temporary thing. We have to pass through it. And the earlier they know that, the better it is. Because in some time in their life, they're going to get lost in the dunya. But if they've got some kind of in the back of the head, oh, that's wrong, that's haram, that's halal, you just guide them through your knowledge whilst you're there and while you're not there. The best you can do. So your legacy should be the hereafter. My father taught me how to be content rather than chase happiness, which is only temporary. Happiness is like, 5 minutes, whether it's eating, copulation, watching a movie, gardening, hiking. These are all temporary happinesses. I feel nice. It's happy. I'm happy. But then, are you content? No. You've got to be content. Everything has to be contentment. Alhamdulillah, if we put into a reality, am I personally content? I think I am. I trust myself enough that if and when I get married again, I don't have to worry about trusting the other person. That's not my job. If I find out they've done something that is not right, I'm not talking about adultery or anything like that. I'm just talking about, you mediate and things. If it doesn't work out, you've got to be strong and say, you know what, I love you, but I'm walking. That's how much I trust myself. Because it comes to a point in a person's life where you have to understand that your focus is Allah. That's it. Brother, work is ibadah, driving your car is ibadah. Okay, are you praying 5 times a day? No, but then keep quiet. You're talking nonsense. Okay? When you talk about work is ibadah, you're praying 5 times a day, and then your work is ibadah, everything is ibadah. But if you're doing work and no salah, you're not doing ibadah.
Of course.
There's no ibadah without salah. So you have to be content with it. You're going to get to a point whereby I can enjoy going fishing. Why? Because at least I've got my prayer with me. My prayer comes along wherever I go. The airport prayer time comes, I'm finding a little place in the corner. Shaitan doesn't say, look, people looking at you. But who cares? I'm not worshipping shaitan. I'm worshipping Allah. I'm worshipping Allah. When I go fishing, my salah comes with me. When I go holiday, my salah comes with me. If I go to the moon, my prayer comes with me. People say, yeah, but brother, how can I pray? I'll lose my job. I'm sorry, then lose your job. It's Allah giving you job and money. It's not them giving you money. That means you're worshipping the people. You're worried about your money.
Yeah.
Then eventually what you could become a person that says, look what Allah's given me. He must like me. Are you praying? No. Then don't think about Allah likes you. He gave you rope to hang yourself. Don't be too proud that Allah's giving you £1 million house, $5 million in the bank, and you're not praying. If prayer doesn't come to your mind, there's a serious issue there. Don't let shaitan fool you thinking that Allah loves you. That's why he's giving you all these things.
You said earlier that the problems, for example, this what need to get a house, these are other people's problems, right? That are being inserted into you. Similarly, when it comes to this thing you just mentioned about the job and needing the job and not being able to pray at your job, that aspect of the only way that I can earn money is through this particular job, again, is being inserted as somebody else's problem in your mind. Somebody else is giving you the expectation that this job is the only way that I'm going to make money. I have to delay my salah, I have to miss my salah in order for me to make money. And your mind is so blocked from thinking about any other way of attaining that rizq that Allah has written for you, that you're happy to take on that problem. Maybe not happy, but you're allowing that problem to come to you. And you're leaving that salah because somebody else has made that expectation in your mind.
That's right.
But what's interesting, Ramiz, is that you've kind of said, essentially contentment comes from avoiding the reality of others and their expectations and not allowing those whatever people have expectations that you need a house, people have expectations that you need this kind of job, people have these expectations you need to do XYZ. Leaving them to the side will actually make you more content and more focused on Allah. But how do you get to that stage, and how do you ensure that your children get to that stage as well? Because we live in a society, especially for the younger people, that everything is about everybody else's expectations. For me to buy the shoes, for example, when I was in school, right, you won't be caught buying a no brand pair of shoes because it had to be a brand on them. I had to have a Nike tick.
Brother, I was wearing £2 Pollards, a shop called Pollards in East London. I was wearing what they call them, deck shoes, like £2, £1 polyester shorts for my PE shorts. You know, I went to school in the snow with sandals and white socks once. I remember it clearly.
There you go. You're mashallah, you're grown up in a time, or maybe not even a time, but in a particular context, family scenario that has given you that resilience to do that. But me growing up in school, you wouldn't be caught buying anything other than Nike, Adidas. You wouldn't be caught having the haircut had to be the haircut
David,
what everybody else was saying.
Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I did push my mum to buy me a Leyland Scott jumper once and a Pringle jumper. I remember. I wore it once. I put it in the washing machine. It became that short. It was 100% wool. It became really like about this big. You know, I wore it once, and it was nice. Leyland, because my friends had Leyland Scott. You know, my Pringle and everything else. But
yeah,
it didn't really change me. You know, at the end of you're right about you're right about what I said in the sense of fears. You know, you live your 20s and 30s trying to fulfill the virtual fears of other people.
Yeah.
And reduce them. But it's because those fears are fake. They're not yours. I'm talking about parents. You know, they can't help it. They come here first generation. They found it very hard. They work their butts off. There's no time for I love you, son, I'm proud of you. Just get there, hurry up, because there's no food at home. I'm trying to work my butt off to put food on the table. I can't deal with your emotions right now. So in essence, I'm what we call a transitional generation, which now I've got the best of both worlds. So I put that instill that into my kids. So I try and make them to be content. Now, I don't put fears in my kids. I go, oh, this will happen. If you don't do that, this will happen. If you don't do this, this will happen. No, don't put that. Don't do that. My parents did that to me. Well, my mum did it to me. Right. But she, Allah bless her, this what she came here, didn't know a word of English when she was like in her teens with my nan. There's nobody here. My uncles were here, but they were here gallivanting wherever they were 16 and 17, and they got sent here. So, you know, the difficulties they've gone through, they don't want us to go through. But in doing so, they don't know how to balance out the wording to us. So it comes out as very strong emotional outbursts. So you have that trauma of, oh, I've got to get a house. If I don't get a house, people are going to think that I'm a bum. I don't know this. I don't know. You know, it's just, and I went through that. And that's, sometimes I do think about that. You know, this time buying, I should have a house. I should have had a house by now. But don't get me wrong, I should have had a house in the sense of I did have the funds for it as well, to buy a house in the 2004s, 5, 6, 7s.
Yeah.
But I didn't. I didn't buy one because I didn't know how to manage the weird. Making the money is one thing. Managing it is something else. So I wasn't good at money management. Now I am, but I ain't got much money. But I know how to make it now. So I've come late in my teens, but not that it's not late according to my standard. It's just late for me, but I don't worry about it. It's not late if I get it. If I don't, no, but now it's a nice. I've gone back into my 20s to start again in my 50s.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
You know, and I know how to do it, inshallah. So, but if it comes, alhamdulillah. If it doesn't come, alhamdulillah. I'm still going to enjoy the journey.
So would you say that level of contentment only comes with time and experience, or is there a way of giving that to young people?
Well, you know, bro, you're Pakistani, right?
Yeah.
Well, you've been back home, right? You've been back home, Pakistan?
I haven't been back home yet. No, subhanallah, I haven't.
Oh, well, if you go, you're going to see your culture, your countrymen. Yeah. You know, they're poor, but they're happy. They're content. But in people who live in the West, they're so Nike-driven, brand-driven. Like I said, brand-driven. I've got to get my BMW. I've got to get my Merc. I've got to get this. I've got to do this. They're chasing that. They're not chasing dunya. They're chasing a particular part of a dunya in order so that somebody can say to them, "Oh, well done, you got that."
Exactly.
Now what? Now what? 6 months later, you're going to find a banana skin underneath there, a can of drink underneath there. You're going to scratch it and all that. Then what? You want to get another one. Then you can do the same thing to that. You know, a £500 car that gets to A and B is no different than a £10,000 car that gets to A and B.
True.
You know, I was talking to my brother the other week, and I keep saying it now. I think I'm going to retire on a canal boat. You know, there's narrow, but not the narrow one. They've got these wide beam ones, and some of them are really beautiful. They're 12 foot wide, but sometimes 50 by 60 foot long. That's a house on the water, and it's really lovely. Really, I mean, it's like a house, and it's up to what you make it. I can do that. Brother goes, yeah, you're definitely a gypsy. I said, definitely. I'm proud to be one. I'd love to live a nomad life, you know, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But contentment, you're right. I mean, contentment, personally speaking, it came from experience and age. Okay. And knowing that I can't do anything but submit. Not use fighting. Oh, I didn't get that. It doesn't bother me anymore. It used to bother me, not anymore. It hasn't bothered me for years. It does. You know, at the end of the day, you know what I think about now that makes me feel guilty? My mum and dad, they worked 25 years in the same kitchen. We lived upstairs in the cafe, like I said. So in the first 20 years, no double century, no double glazing. On a Saturday, I have to do the cooking, the cleaning, the washing, the ironing, and all that. And go across the laundry, come back, butter bread, peel potatoes, blah 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 blah. I've gone. Looking back, I've gone through nothing. My parents went through it, and then they're going to die and leave me a part of their house or part of their wealth. That's going to make me guilty as anything. Do you know what I mean? I told Mum yesterday. I said, Mum, you know, we've all got one foot in the grave. I'm not saying because you're old, she's 77, you're going to go, you're close. I could go before you. She goes, Mum, don't say that. I said, Mum, this is reality, yeah? I know you don't want to bury, nobody wants to bury their children. I said, you're going to leave. You're going to leave them the money. You're going to leave the house, flats, whatever land you've got here and all that. But you're not here. I'm not being, again, wallahi, in front of Allah, I'm not being potentially humble. I'm just being real with you as a human being. That would make me feel so guilty. Since in my teens, I've told my mum and my dad, don't leave me anything. I don't want nothing. Even to my younger brother and sister, I don't need it because I can live humbly. I can live on a boat. I can live like a gypsy. I can live on nothing. But some people can't. This is why the Prophet ﷺ said, you know, some people give everything they got and they become poor. But Abu Bakr did it. Abu Bakr's iman is different than anybody else's. You can't compare it to Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu. He gave everything. And so I asked him, what did you leave for them, for your family? Allah and the Rasul. That's iman. But some people think they've got that iman until they get to a certain level and realize, oh, maybe I shouldn't give that much. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm all right. So I said, Mum, if you're going to do anything, give it to me now so I can spend it on myself and you. We do things together. What's yours is mine and what's mine is yours at the end of it, if, in essence, you know. So this is it. I mean, I'm just content, akhi. Wallahi, I'm content. I mean, Allah don't test me on that point. Make it easy for everybody, I mean. But I am content.
You know, in the any sort of like couples therapy that you might do you find that lack of contentment is an issue with couples these days?
It is, because don't forget, each one, they've got their own fears, individuals. Then they've got their own fears as a couple. Whilst trying to implement the best they can do to make the marriage work, they've got their own fears to deal with. So sometimes when I counsel young couples, in my heart I'm thinking, this ain't a problem. It's not. But to them it is, obviously. But to me, because of my experience and, 20 years down the line, they don't want to think about this if they stay together. But I'm looking in my house thinking, God, man, I could pull both your ears. You haven't got a problem because they haven't got the emotional skills to deal with it. That's the problem. Or the experience to deal with it. So this is why it's important to teach our kids emotional intelligence. And like when my kids come out with a problem, I say, find the solution because there is one. Yeah. Find the solution. Don't go complain. Don't act like a victim. You do something wrong, own it. Accountability. Say sorry, make it right. Like my boy, sometimes the kids, when I go with it, I help his school out sometimes. The boy goes to Islamic school down the road in London. I think boys need to go to school more than girls, although homeschooling is good for all kids. But because boys need more discipline, more rounded more rounded kind of type of routine, because they're the rajul, they're going to be the wali, aren't they? Akawamun.
Yeah.
So the protector and the provider. So they have to go. So some of the kids complain, Abay took my sharpener, Abay took my rubber. So I grabbed my son's ear. I don't pull it out. I say, listen, you're going to make this right. You're going to make it right. I'm going to give you money. We'll go to the shop. You're going to buy rubbers and pencil sharpeners and give it all to your friends. Just make it right. Just make the wrong right. That's what people expect from you.
Yeah.
And if you do that, they'll love you more than they did before. But if you don't do anything, you can say, look, you took my shot. They're going to like you. Not that you have to like some people. You don't want to hurt people, whether emotionally or physically, unnecessarily. So teaching the kids contentment is just to be content with what they got.
I was just going to say, it's quite interesting what you said about people respect you more when you right those wrongs, essentially. And you used a very simple example, but I think it's actually quite profound when it comes to couples and when it comes to parents as well, because a lot of the times, even especially as parents, you feel like once you've done something, that's permanent damage now. You're not going to be able to fix that. And sometimes a lot of that fear comes from kind of modern pop psychology, where you have this kind
Shaitan
of
whispers as well, yeah.
Shaitan's whispers too, where you have this idea that everything that happens in childhood is going to potentially form traumas later in life. And of course, there's a reality to that. But what I feel like is that sometimes parents take that to an extreme, and they feel like, okay, once I've done something wrong, I've shouted at my child once, or I've hit my child once, or I've acted and out of some sort of aggression and have been triggered once, that's a permanent scar on the child. But I also think that there is a way of fixing that, and sometimes parents prevent themselves from righting that wrong. And if you right that wrong in front of your child, you actually go to your child and you apologize to them. You go to your child and you do something that fixes that situation, that they may even have a better bond with you after that moment than you think you've damaged that bond. And same thing comes with your spouse, with your wife. You may have had an argument, and if you go away from the argument, you don't bother doing anything, then the way that the argument was and the outcome that came from the argument is going to stay as it is. But if you went away and you thought to yourself, okay, khalas, I've had that argument. Now, what could I do to regain her respect, regain her trust? I could apologize. I could bring a gift. I could right this wrong. And now your wife will think about, okay, I know he did that wrong thing, but I respect him more now because he's gone out of his way, thought about what he done, tried to fix that, done something to kind of right that wrong, and now my level of respect for him is going to be higher. And I think that works across so many situations, subhanallah.
Absolutely. I mean, it's always like teaching the kids to be content in one way is to not be content with done something wrong. Make the wrong right and take accountability for it. Can't be wrong and strong. You can't act like a victim when you're the one who's wrong. Just own it, say sorry, make it right, and move forward. And that comes with being thankful as well. So a lot of us are very ungrateful for what we got, and we complain about what we haven't got.
Yeah.
So we've got to be really thankful for everything, and teaching kids to be thankful. So if I passed, I don't know, the honey over to my son, he goes, Baba, can you pass my honey? I'll give it to him. I say, what do you say? Oh, thank you. Okay, that's it. Make sure you say that. Be thankful for every little thing that happens in your life, every little thing. Someone opens the door for you, I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Everybody. And you be thankful and expect thankful for everybody else as well. What do you say? Please. What do you say? Thank you. Small words.
Yeah.
But, they're very powerful.
Even the salah, we know that salah is a type of shukr to Allah, a gratefulness to Allah. And it's one of the types of shukr that even though you cannot have full shukr to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's one of the ways that you can try and get to that level of being grateful for everything that He's given you is by performing the salah.
Truth.
Yeah, exactly. So I always tell my children when we're going to pray, And they, you know, I say, do you want to pray with us? And they say, no. I said, so you don't want to say thank you to Allah for everything that you have? And then it triggers something in them. Oh, okay, fine. Yeah, I'm going to pray. Rather than the prayer just being a prayer, but when you
As a
allow them to
ritual.
understand the reality of it, that actually this is showing shukr for what you have, because that's things that they understand. They know that they've got food. They know they've got this. They know they've got that.
Absolutely. SubhanAllah. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Sheikh Ramiz, have we done about an hour now? Jazakallah
Yeah,
khair
I
for
think
your
we've done
time.
more than that, actually.
Barakallahu
About
fikum.
an hour and a half. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. It's been good.
It's been great
and,
again, inshallah. Yeah,
yeah,
it's been
this
great.
was like totally unscripted. We just went for it. Alhamdulillah, it was really good. Really appreciate you coming on, or actually you
Oh,
reaching
you're
out to
welcome.
me and saying,
Thank
let's do
you.
this.
Thank you for having me. Jazakumullah khair. I appreciate it, myself.
Ya Rab. Okay, inshallah. Jazakallah khair everyone for listening, and for those of you who are still here, mashallah, tabarakallah, please make sure that you subscribe to the podcast on YouTube or wherever you're listening to it, and also in the description should be the link for the Dadhood newsletter, and so just make sure you put your email down in there so you can get some regular content to your inbox as well on various different thoughts and reflections that I write up relate to fatherhood and parenting and things like this. Inshallah, see you next time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alright guys, so if you enjoyed that video, please do subscribe and follow me on TikTok and Instagram for more dad related content. Check out some of my previous videos and look forward to the next ones.